No. Anyone. Just grab anyone. They're both on.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure that you are all able to join us this morning, and we are so glad you are here. We welcome those who are on site with us and also our online audience. Elmhurst Church really loves to proclaim the gospel message along with the nutritional message. So if everyone would please bow your heads and close your eyes, we would like to open the seminar up with a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this blessed day. Thank you for the opportunity to gather here together to listen to those who are here to speak towards nutrition and the plant-based whole lifestyle that you have outlined for us to adhere to. Please bless the hands as they prepare forth the food and the ears that are here to receive this message. In your name we pray, amen. All right, so once again, a warm welcome to both those who are with us in congregation and to those who are joining us online as well. Elmhurst Church really does love to speak towards nutrition, and we have prepared this health seminar for your benefits. We are going to be having 6 presenters who are speaking towards different recipes that also adhere to the 3 pillars of nutrition. They incorporate a healthy proportion of fat, carbohydrates, and protein, which are very, very important when it comes to maintaining a healthy lifestyle. We also like to adhere to biblical teachings, which proclaims a plant-based, whole foods diet, vegetarian and vegan highlights. So our recipes are going to be of that nature. Additionally, we encourage a balance of fresh air, a healthy dosage of vitamin D, lots of water, and spiritual doctrine when it comes to a well-rounded lifestyle in accordance to biblical teachings. Each of you should have received a program that outlines the recipes that will be displayed today. And if you have not, they are right next to the door on display. So can we have a show of hands if nobody has got it? Okay, so we have one over there, has not received a program. Just keep your hands up high. Thank you. So we have 2. Wonderful. Oh, and one more in the pink. Thank you so much. All right, so yes, if you open up, you will see the recipes on display with all of their details. So when I was asked to do a little health introduction nutrition nugget as it is detailed on the agenda, I had to sit back and reflect a little bit on what I would like to speak to. As you know, health is very wide, lots of different aspects, and so I had to shift through a couple of different topics until I decided to settle on a topic that is not necessarily focused on when you are looking at nutrition, and that is the common thread that nutrition has between physical well-being and mental well-being. As you know, in today's society, there are stresses and elements of worry surrounding us from every which way. We are, quote unquote, still in the middle of a pandemic. We are hearing wars and rumors of wars. Please keep these countries in your prayers moving forward as well. And also, some can say we are on the verge of an economic collapse. So, of course, there are many different things to consider, and stress levels can be quite high. So, dietary intake is not only crucial for the prevention of chronic diseases, as is well known, but also for the stabilization of a well-rounded lifestyle. Essentially, when you eat better, you will feel better, right? And when you feel better, life is better. So let's narrow down on stress. What is stress? Some people can feel like stress is completely out of their control. It's part of life, and to be quite frank, stress is inevitable. According to a survey conducted by Princeton Survey Research Associates, 2/3 of Americans report being stressed out at least once a week. That's a pretty high statistic. In 1996, 1 out of every 4 of adults said they felt an impending nervous breakdown. To put in perspective, that's roughly 26%, and that was about 20 years ago. Now, speaking to the elements that I mentioned in the beginning, how so much our lifestyle has changed and our cosmos of worries has increased, I don't even want to know how much higher that statistic is. Americans and our population, we are plagued with chronic tension, fatigue, anxiety, and stress-related diseases. Almost 20 million in the US suffer from chronic depression, and an estimation of 44 billion in cost goes to subduing these sentiments. So how does that link into nutrition? Why am I speaking of stress and telling of these statistics? Well, it's very important to recognize that poor nutrition status can affect the risk for numerous chronic health conditions, including depression, cognitive impairment, as well as heart disease and the other elements that we are well familiar with. According to a nutritionalist, eating right is just as important as managing stress because vulnerability to stress increases with poor diet. In summation, you might be surprised to learn that you could be bringing unnecessary stress and ailment into your life due to the lifestyle choices that you are making. For example, let's talk about breakfast. I know I can speak for myself. I don't adhere to a rigorous and normal breakfast schedule. And sometimes it's very easy when you're running out the door to grab a highly processed dessert or donut, as a lot of people do, while you're running to work or school or whatever it might be. Some people lean on caffeine as well for their energy fix. And at the same time, while that does seem to get the job done, because of the high carbohydrates and that caffeine high, your body will eventually crash. And then in the stress-regulated day-to-day activities, you will find yourself struggling in the middle of the day for more energy. Thereby, it is important to recognize that you need to be putting your body first and furnishing your body with the proper nutrients that it needs to bring you through the day. Stress adversely affects nutritional status and increases the metabolic needs of the body. This is because stress hormones tend to accelerate the heart rate, increase muscle tension, increase blood pressure, cholesterol, and cause a cascade of metabolic changes. And while our bodies are very efficient under stress for some time, the increased metabolism can cause an overuse of nutrients. In essence, your fuel tank will get deplenished. Thereby, if you start your day with a proper breakfast, follow up with a proper lunch, and finish off with a great dinner, you will be able to not only curb your stress side effects and how you're feeling on day, but you'll be able to honor the body, which is a temple that the Lord has given you. Today, you will see a demonstration of 6 healthy, plant-based, and nutrition-filled recipes presented in front of you. When arranged in healthy proportions and consumed at the right times, you will be properly equipping your body for what it is destined to do. And I'm very, very excited to say that all of them incorporate the right proportions of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. For example, you will be able to get adequate carbs from consuming rice from the pieces of unleavened bread that you will see one of our presenters speak to. Or if you're looking to get the right amount of protein, you're going to be able to do so by the cashews incorporated in the construction of our creamy broccoli or creamy cauliflower and kale soup. And if you're looking for a hearty dinner of red Dale rice or beans, that will be a perfect combination of carbs and proteins. And please don't forget you need to get your fresh fruits and vegetables. So we will be finishing off today's seminar with a delicious salad. So now that we've given a little sneak peek into what we will be seeing, I am happy to invite our first presenter, Carmen Porosky, to put together her first recipe.
Great job. Good morning and welcome again. I'm so glad to see some familiar faces, some faces who are coming back, some faces maybe I forgot, but they came back to me and they said they remember when I was either pregnant or had a little one. Well, my little one is almost 4 and probably running around. But thank God we are all healthy and we are moving forward. So today, I'm actually not the first, I'm the second recipe that is in line. And we are going to do a red dal recipe. Just before we go into recipe itself, it seemed very simple. There are only few ingredients in this recipe, and you look and you're like, yeah, but can it be nutritious and delicious? And yes, it can. These 5 ingredients that we so often use, we have tomato, onion, garlic, ginger, and red lentils. So simple, but when you put them together, they are really great, nutritious meal for you. So before we start, I just want to let you know, red lentils, as we know, beans and legumes are the highest protein, plant base, and red lentils, it says that you can get from a bowl of cooked red lentils 12 grams of proteins, which is about 30% of daily protein need that you have. So there you go. When that is combined with the rice, the content is even higher. If you're talking about the fiber that you have in the lentil, it's about 15 grams, which consists up to 45% of your daily fiber need. So you are hitting both needs, protein and fiber. Red lentil is also high in iron and magnesium, and in vitamin B, folate, and other minerals in smaller amounts. When we talk about tomatoes, even though they are fruit, we use them mostly as a vegetable. We cook and we eat them fresh. They are the major dietary source of antioxidant lycopene, which has been found out that has many benefits, especially for your heart and against the cancer. It's high in vitamin C, potassium, folate, and vitamin K. Now, when we talk about ginger, ginger has a lot of good properties too, and it is anti-inflammatory, helps with nausea, lowers blood sugars, decreases cholesterol, and also reduces with the ladies when they have their monthly menstrual pain. We have then garlic. Garlic contains vitamin B, C, calcium, potassium, and phosphorus. Garlic is one of the most beneficial foods for digestive system and has a positive effect on the lymph, aiding in elimination of toxic waste matter in the body. It is also used as a blood cleanser, and it is a natural antibody and therefore very valuable in strengthening the immune system. And the last one, onion, contains vitamin A, thiamine, iron, niacin, and calcium. And it has antiseptic qualities. And it's recommended in uses of asthma, bronchitis, pneumonia, flu, and simple colds. So when you combine all of this together, no wonder your meal is going to be nutritious, but it's also going to help you with your daily health care. All right, so we are going to get started. I already prepped some of the things and measured, but we'll do a little more later. So at the beginning of it, you use one of the medium onions. It doesn't have to, this one is I think a little bit larger than medium, but it's okay. We love onion. And you don't have to dice it in a small things, it's just nice cubes. And it goes into your food processor. This is my, as I said, good and faithful processor. I had it for many years. I don't want to even say how many. So, but it still works. Last time I asked somebody to borrow a nicer, fancier one, but I forgot today. Then we have garlic, 2 cloves of garlic. Also, just roughly, it doesn't have to be nothing tiny, sliced. And then we have an inch of ginger. And then we will add, you can use 1/3 to 1/2 a cup of olive oil, and we'll process it together. While we do that, I want to see if this is on or not. Now we are on. And the reason we do this, actually, this is my friend's recipe, and she says her family really didn't care for onions and garlic if they could see them or if they're big. But I like then the texture too. So when this is ready, we will just transfer it in a medium heat. This gets slippery with oil and my gloves. Let's try this. And we will just saute these 5 or so minutes. This is one of the recipes that's, it's under 30 minutes or 30 minutes or so. And, when you're a mom and you are working and you have kids that go, they have sports and music, you look for anything under 30 minutes. Unless you have a day off and you can spend, a few hours. So while this is going on slowly, we are going to reuse our blender to just do our tomatoes. You can use your fresh ones, you can use canned. So it's about 1 or 1.5 regular size tomatoes. We are going to blend this again. Oh, good. I was just worried if this is going to heat up fast, but it is. These spatulas are great. I don't know whoever thought of them. You waste so little when you use them. For this, you need to make sure that it doesn't burn on the bottom. This is slippery. Okay. So after about 5 minutes, we will add the seasoning. We have the cumin, 1 teaspoon, and then we have 2 teaspoons of curry powder. In our background, we are from Croatia. We don't use this type of seasoning. This is mostly, red lentil comes and is used a lot in India. So our family, they don't care, for a lot of this. So sometimes I put less, but it's still, it brings that special flavor. You can already feel it in the air. It smells really good. So when this is also, you can another few minutes, or you can just go ahead and add the tomatoes. You will add 1 cup of red lentil. One teaspoon, or I add a little more, but taste it first. And 3 cups of water. And that's it. You put all of it together. You will cover it and cook 15 to 30 minutes. This little lentils goes by so fast. That's why I love it. It's still very nutritious and tasty, but you don't have to spend a long time getting ready. So I already made up some at home, so it's already ready for a little ready to taste. And I'll take this one over in the back to finish it up. But I'll be glad to share it. And if you have any questions, you can ask me later. But it's all good to see you, and I hope we all learned something new today. Okay.
For the first recipe that was presented. There was a little bit of a swap, as she mentioned, on the agenda, but now we are going to be having our second, he was our first, but now our second presenter, and he will be speaking towards his cream of broccoli. So please join me in welcoming Kevin Connell.
All right, by the time I get set up, this might look like a Costco store, so just, kind of bear with me here. No, actually, it's a variety store, that's what it is. Okay, that's probably good for now. All right. So this is pretty much, and I haven't tried this recipe on other stuff yet, but I think it'll work. See, we used to have a vegan restaurant years ago, and I know there's one, she used to come there, and Doug's parents used to come there, and I don't know who else would remember, but we were there till 1996. Anyways, right in Oakbrook Terrace, from 85 to 96. And so we had our basic cream soup recipe. The secret is the cashews. You can try it with all kinds of other stuff, but the cashews is what makes it best. So basically, I think this recipe will work like for cream of mushroom, cream of celery, even cream of Brussels sprout soup I made once, which was really good. And anyways, so I'm not going to do too much here because there's quite a bit of preparation, and Carmen gave a very nice presentation on how to cut onions. I was going to demonstrate how to cut onions, but she did very good. So you cut it and cut the ends off, cut it in half, peel the stuff off. And then you just, you got the onions are already partially cut on the inside anyways, you see. So then you just make your little lines. And, well, what the heck, I'm going to need this later for something else, not for this recipe. I'm going to take it home and make it. But anyway, see. Now, when we had our restaurant, we had 50-pound bags of onions. 50-pound bags. So this was the fun job. You got to cut all the onions. So you did the whole bag at once because we had these big, huge tables. So you dumped half of them out, and then so you cut the ends off, cut it in half, peel them off, Get those peels off. Come on, get off of there. All right. Somebody's going to have to clean this floor after this, but... Okay, so that's that. All right, so then you see what she did. I cut them like in half, and then and again, for this one, this recipe, everything's going into a blender eventually anyways. I'm not going to show you that, but the pieces don't have to be that small. But there you go. There's a bunch of lines right there. Okay, then you just line them all up, and then you got your pieces, see? So it's all chopped up. Yeah, they slide around a little bit, and then you got to get your fingers out of the way then. Yeah, the end ones, then you kind of just go like this. And all right, anyway, so that's that. So just put them in a bowl. All right, I'm not going to do that one. I'm not going to blend that big onion. I'm not going to do this right now. So this is just a demonstration how to cut stuff. And then celery goes in this recipe too. Just follow along the recipe. It's, the one I made, pre-made in there. I think the carrots came out kind of strong, because, it doesn't say how many cups. It just says 2 or 3 carrots. So the recipe, it's cream of broccoli, but it has definitely a slight carrot taste to it. It's actually very good. So now to cut celery, just cut it down, cut the big ends down another time, and then, oh, thank you. See, and then you just chop. You got your chops. Anyways. All right, you got the idea. So you just make the big slits in them and go down. Okay. So we'll finish. I'm going to take that home and make something else with it. All right, now carrots are kind of tricky because they're hard. So with the carrots, they're kind of hard to chop sometimes. So, okay, by the way, these are Whole Foods. If you buy right now, they got good deals on 5-pound bags. They're like 85 cents a pound. So if it's too many, you split it with somebody. But stuff's getting expensive. And the celery, that's from Costco. And so onions, they got a good deal at Whole Foods right now. And I try to buy organic as much as I can, but some of the stuff is not that, is important. Like onions aren't that important to buy organic. There's lists on the internet. You can. So now, like for carrots, I actually just put them in the blender and pulse them. So that's how you chop carrots fast, at least I do. There you go, there's chopped carrots right there. See? And if there's too big of a piece, there you go. There's 2 big pieces, so you put them back in. There you go. So you can add them to salads just like that, to any recipes. See, and Carmen, she thinks her thing is old. This blender I've had a long time. All right, so that's that. All right, so obviously these are not measurement proportions on this recipe, but anyways. And then after that, here's a good deal at Costco too. You can buy whole bags of peeled garlic, and they're from good sources too. And so if you don't want to use, I make a whole batch of garlic at once. I make stir fry and then just eat them. So if anybody wants to try these later, they can try them too. This is basically the same ingredients. Just take the garlic, put it in the pan with a little, avocado oil, because that oil doesn't burn as much. A little cayenne pepper. Where's the turmeric? Turmeric extract and salt. You make a whole batch at once. Just eat them like candy. I had 15 of them yesterday. 6 of them this morning already. But anyways, So here's the raw garlic. This is raw, so you can freeze it too. So you use as much as you want, and then like Carmen was saying, you don't need to cut it in exact little pieces because this recipe is all going in the blender anyways. Now here's the key. Cashews are the key. Let me read what this lady said. This lady's kind of goofy. I looked her up on the internet. I never saw this recipe till Friday. But cashews are very nutritious too. Anyways, this lady's website is called, the generally man is called Homo sapien. Okay, she calls herself the hummus sapien. Okay, so whatever. So she's got a whole bunch of recipes, and she's kind of funny. She says, "This is the best soup you're ever going to taste." Okay, it is pretty good, I must admit. But she says, "Would I ever lie to you? This is the best vegan cream of broccoli soup ever, ever, ever. I wasn't fibbing when I told you these black bean brownies taste like." So she makes black bean brownies with beans. Then she says, I don't know, she goes on and says, the secret is in the cashews, see? You can make it with other stuff. So to make cashew cream, just take cashews. Oh, good, there's water here. And it says you can pre-soak them. You really don't need to, but it does make it a little easier. So just put I don't know. About that many is good. So about 1 cup of cashews. And you notice I'm not going to clean the blender because it's all going in the same recipe, so it doesn't matter. There you go. Here's some water. I hope how long has this water been sitting here? Just since today? No, just kidding. Okay. All right. So about that much water. Yeah, about 2 cups. We'll pour not quite as much in there. And then just blend it up. And this acts as a thickener too. So just leave this run for a minute. All right, that's probably close enough. Probably should be thicker, so we'll add a few more cashews. Anyways. That's it. That's the ingredient. And you can make cheese sauce out of this too, cashew cheese sauce, by adding like little pimento pieces or red peppers. And then the way you test it, just go like that with your fingers, and if it's smooth and creamy, bam, you're done. All right, so we're going to keep this for later. All right. So what you do then is, first you saute the onions for about 3 minutes. So it should say it on there, yeah, 3 minutes. And then you add the carrots and the celery. And if if the stuff's not cooking fast enough, add a little, water to it. And I like to use avocado oil along with the olive oil because the olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, has a high, it burns fast. So if you add avocado oil, mix it up, then, the burning, whatever they call it, it doesn't burn as much. So it's good. And then I buy these bags of broccoli at Costco too. Broccoli flowers are organic, and I think broccoli might be one of those things where you need to buy organic. Who's bothering me at this hour? Anyways, so the pieces are pretty good. And see, what I like to do when I make these cream soups, I don't blend everything together. I like with the broccoli, it says 7 cups. Okay, so I'd probably blend about half the broccoli. I'll put it in, and saute it with the rest of this stuff, but the rest of it I keep out, you see, and then I just kind of steam it and dump it in at the end so that it has some actual broccoli pieces, because otherwise everything gets blended up, and you can make, do with mushrooms or anything like that. So basically, yeah, so you saute the onions, you add the carrots and the celery, and then after 5 more minutes, you add your garlic, and you add half the broccoli, add some water to it, make it nice and good, and then you put everything in a pot, except for the broccoli, the broccoli pieces that you don't want to blend. Keep those to the side. So you put everything in a pot, add the rest of the water, bring it to a boil for a few minutes. You don't have to do it for 15 minutes because it's all going to go in the blender anyways. And you add your seasonings, so just salt and pepper basically is all this calls for, but I did add other stuff, so. I added this stuff from Trader Joe's called 21 Seasoning Salute. It's a pretty nice product. And cayenne pepper, I don't know, I just like stuff to have a little kick to it. So that's what you do. You blend all that, then you blend everything together, pour it back in the pot, and then you put the broccoli in that you didn't blend, and then at the end you pour this in, the cashew cream, and it thickens it up really good. Very nice and creamy and thick. And then one thing I like to add to a lot of recipes is this stuff here, turmeric extract. Now turmeric doesn't have very much taste at all. It's very, very mild, but it's a super antioxidant. It's one of the best things you can eat. So you can put this in your smoothies, all kinds of fruit smoothies. Like if I cook a batch of rice, brown rice, I cook for a whole week. And then if you add a scoop or two of turmeric to it, it just turns the rice yellow, but it doesn't really change the flavor. And same with this soup. So I put 2 scoops of turmeric. Well, I would only put not quite 1 scoop for this recipe, but it's just a real superfood. It's extremely good for you. So anyways, and you just cook it for a little while, and if you leave it overnight, it might thicken up too much. So then you just add some water to it, and you might need to add a little more seasoning. So anyways, there's lots of good stuff in here. Lots of good vegetables, lots of good fat with the nice oils, lots of good fiber. Very nice stuff, so. Anyways, any questions? Oh, to close the garlic? Okay. Oh, yeah, these were baked. These were cooked already, but the bag is raw garlic. Yeah. Oh, to make the garlic? Oh, I just add, I put it in with a little oil and mix it up and put this and salt and turmeric. That's it. So that's a garlic recipe. But this has nothing to do with the soup. So the soup is just a raw garlic. So.
It isn't that hard as it seems.
Yeah.
To cook cream soup. And you're saying that there's a little bit of room for kind of do it as you go.
Well, like this lady says, when I make soup, I hardly ever measure anything or write down anything. So.
Yeah, but for someone who doesn't
Right.
cook a lot, it's a really
So yeah, it's just like the batch I made Friday is a little different than the one I made this morning. The one I made this morning has a slight carrot taste to it because the carrots were bigger or something. So
just
but-
test and go.
yeah, that's about it. Yeah, you test and go,
Okay, all right.
So the more you go, the more you test.
Thank you, I
All right.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Do you only use raw cashew or griddle?
Just, raw cashews, yeah. Yeah, raw cashews only. And they sell these pieces at Trader Joe's. They're pretty reasonable, but actually the whole raw cashews at Costco, you can buy, one of these things about that big. The whole raw cashews are actually a little cheaper than buying these cashew pieces at Trader Joe's. Not much, but so especially nowadays we got to watch all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so the raw cashews, they come in one of these things. So, anybody else?
This is a warm soup or a kind of a
cool soup.
Oh, no, it's warm, because you bring all this stuff to a boil and then you blend it. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Then you blend everything a little bit at a time. So, you take your measuring cup, you scoop it out of the boiling pot, put it in here, and you can use a blender, whatever thing you have, and then dump it back in the pot, and then you put the cashew cream in. So, thank you.
All right, so as we move on to our next presenter, just another thank you to Kevin. I know myself, I absolutely love my soups, especially since we are faced with harsh Chicago winters. So they definitely, even though we're over the hump of the winter, I would hope so, definitely keep this recipe on your back burner for summer as well, because it sounds like it's very delicious. As Kevin is wrapping up, I would like to introduce Marinela Rashala. She is going to be speaking towards unleavened bread. This is a recipe I personally have grown up with, so it's one of... I'm sorry? Yes, it's also known as communion bread, but it's definitely a very, very great recipe, so I'm excited for you all to hear of it.
Thank you. I just wanted to say a few things about those of you who are religious and attend the church, whether it is a Catholic or Protestant church, Christian church, it is called Mass, Eucharist, or Communion, or Lord's Supper. So we here in our church, we have every 3 months, we don't have every week as in Catholic Church are doing, communion. So if you've never been in a communion and you want to participate the last Sabbath, Saturday of this month, we are going to have a communion here in our church. Now, why it is called unleavened bread? Leaven is something in the Bible that represents evil, that represents sin. And this represents the body of Christ. And it is without sin, without evil, without anything. We also use the unfermented grape juice because, again, the blood of Jesus Christ was pure. There was no fermentation, there was no alcohol. We even as a church promote life without alcohol because it is not healthy for your body. So, also, we do not believe as a church that in the technical term is transubstantiation. That when you eat the bread, communion bread, that you're actually eating real body of Jesus Christ. No. For us, we believe that this is a symbol representing the pure body of Jesus Christ. And also the blood representing the pure blood of Jesus Christ, which was shed for us. And again, Miss Marinela Rashala, she's our head deaconess. She always prepared the communion bread. It's delicious. And it is good also, you can prepare at home. But again, if you want to participate in a communion, we are going to have the last Saturday of this month at 11 a.m. in the morning.
Bună ziua, sunt Marinela.
Good day, my name is Marinela.
Pregătesc pâinea pentru Sfânta Cină după rețeta din România.
I will be preparing this communion bread following a recipe that I know from Romania.
Este în manualul de doctrine AZC al bisericii noastre.
It is in the doctrine of our church as well.
A fost pregătită de fostul președinte al Uniunii Române, Dumitru Popa.
It was prepared by Dumitru Popa, who was the president of the union.
Acum încep să pregătesc.
And I will continue and start with my preparations.
When I prepare, I do my dress beautiful and use this and gloves.
She will be utilizing her hairnet and gloves for safety measures.
And am ascult muzică foarte bună de Bach și de Handel.
And I also love to listen to the music of Bach and Handel when I am preparing.
Ok, acum încep.
All right?
Prima dată pun 3 cupe de făină. Organic white flour.
My first step will be adding 3 cups of organic white flour to my mixing bowl.
Mă uit la ingrediente să nu aibă altceva decât unbleached wheat flour.
I always analyze the ingredients to make sure that there are no additives besides that of unbleached white flour. All right.
Măsor până la 300 de mililitri.
And I measure up until 300 milliliters.
Și pun 3 cupe.
And I make sure that it is 3 cups. And onward to the last step.
Ok, făina este gata.
All right, now all the flour has been added to the bowl.
Adaug o linguriță de sare de mare.
I will be adding a spoon of sea salt, and that will be 1 teaspoon.
După aceea 300 de mililitri de ulei. Extra light olive oil.
After I will be adding 300 milliliters of extra light olive oil to my bowl, which has the flour and the sea salt.
O adaug aici.
And I just pour it over all of the other ingredients.
Și adaug 250 de mililitri de apă.
And then I go ahead and I add 250 milliliters of water, and that will be added
Not now. First I mix this.
and first I will go ahead and mix as she just specified. And she is just using her hands to fully knead the dough together.
Să amestecă să fie toată făina încorporată în ulei.
Make sure as you are mixing that all of the flour is incorporated with the oil and it is a very unified texture.
Okay. Now, can you please hold up the bowl so we can see what it looks like? Sure. Look like this. Când este foarte rece de la frigider.
Make sure that your water is chilled in the fridge before you add it. This is key to the recipe. And you just pour on top and then you continue.
O frământ cam 10-15 minute.
And you let it sit about 10 to 15 minutes after you mix the mixture once again.
Nu pot să o frământ aici, trebuie să o pun pe fund, pe, cum se zice, la bot.
She will not be able to do that step of the process in front of you, but yes, just let it ferment, sit for 10 to 15 minutes in a lukewarm area. And make sure that it is spread out evenly.
O să merg la bucătărie să frământ, dar așa arată.
As you can see, this is what the product should look like at this step, and Marinella will now take it to the kitchen to go ahead and spread it out and let it ferment.
Din această compoziție pregătesc 4 porții.
Also, as if you look at the recipe, it will be divided in 4 parts, so 4 portions will be prepared from this recipe.
Și o așez aici, bucată cu bucată în fiecare etapă.
Yes, and she will set it forth on a platform similar to this, piece by piece for the fermentation.
O modelez cu mâna pe toată farfuria.
She takes little pieces of the dough and she will mold it in proportion to the disc shape.
Asta este de la tarta, se folosește la tartă.
You will be able, that is used for tarts if you're looking to find similar utensils.
După ce o așez acolo, pregătesc niște urme cu ăsta.
Yes. After it is set and it is left to ferment, she will go ahead with the cutter and make markings similar to the demonstration right over here.
And cu furculița.
And then you will also go ahead and penetrate with the fork in each square that is molded.
And with o coc la cuptor, 2 tavle de astea, 35 minutes.
After all of these steps have been followed, you will let it sit in the oven for 30 to 35 minutes at 400 degrees.
Am rețet.
That is it.
Mai târziu o să gustați din pâine.
After the seminar, you will be able to try what Marinella has made for everyone.
Am pus sare.
All right, so the next recipe that we will be seeing is going to be the creamy cauliflower and kale soup presented by Sharina Domingo. So please join me in welcoming her.
All right, can you all hear me? Awesome, perfect. Let me just set out the players for today before I take a quick roll call and you see exactly everything that I'm using. And I am now realizing just how many things fit into this pot. This is great. We'll count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, All right, and then I have that last thing. Perfect. So my presentation is obviously not as neat as some other people here, but I will go ahead and lay out the rest of it. Now, I'm going to be, before I go into the specifics of how to actually make at least the first part of the soup, I'm going to go over some of the health benefits. Where's my trusty phone? Before I put on my gloves, so that way we're all being cautious. But let's do a quick roll call here of everyone who is present in the game that Shireen is going to be attempting to play today. Now, I've made this recipe 4 times in the past 2 weeks. So if I seem a little lost and you're surprised as to why, I guess I'd needed to make it 5 times in order to actually really understand it. Let's see, is this currently on or is it just, it is on. I will move it over for right now. So first up, I'll go ahead and talk about cauliflower really quickly. I'm going to pick this friendly guy up here. I know cauliflower sometimes looks a little unapproachable, kind of tough, maybe reminds you of some people you know in your life, but it's got a lot of health benefits to it. It has what's called choline, which is used oftentimes in neurotransmission. Acetylcholine, if you're familiar with that, it helps with building that up as well in the body. But practically speaking, it's got a neutral taste. Not only does it have a lot of fiber, but you can sneak it into a lot of things and people will never know. Next up, I'm going to be using some cashews. So cashews, they help with the creaminess like Kevin mentioned earlier, but cashews also have a lot of plant-based protein, heart-healthy fat, so not necessarily bad fat. There is good fat, right? And then also very low sugar. Now, it is important, you know, everything in moderation, so don't eat the entire jar in a small time frame, but by all means, don't hide nuts from yourself. I'm going to be using kale, which is commonly known as a superfood. Everyone loves kale, except for the people who don't, obviously. And kale can be kind of notorious for being bitter, especially when it's eaten raw or in salads. And so if you know people who do not like kale, you could try hiding it in a soup. I know my boyfriend is one of those people who does not like kale. He doesn't like bitter things in general, but in the soup, he can't even taste it. Next, I'm going to be using 2 leeks. They are in the onion family. If they look a little bit torn, like they were aggressively washed, that's because they were. Now, the leeks themselves, they're in the onion family. They have a lot of similar benefits to onions, and then the similar case with garlic and all of the minerals and the nutrients that they have. Let me check really quickly what exactly those are. I came up here, confidently saying, I'm going to say some of the health benefits, and then my brain said, no, you're not. So let's see here. Okay, so let's see. One of these has omega-3 fatty acids, but I can't recall. However, what we do know in garlic is that it can help with colds. So if you're finding that you're a little bit prone to colds, you might want to consider increasing garlic as well as onions in your diet. Now, let me go ahead and make some of these items. Oh, I'll go ahead and also, I'll mention that one later. That you'll notice in the instructions is that you'll be soaking the cashews in boiled water. These are already soaked, so if you're wondering why I'm just pouring them in, that's why. Now, over here, we are going to go ahead and take our pot. Let me put my gloves on. And then we're going to pour some oil. I know in the recipe it says you're going to put a tablespoon of oil. But I grabbed, let's see, what did I grab? I grabbed 1/4 teaspoon instead of my tablespoon. So we are going to just pour some oil and pretend it's a tablespoon worth of oil. Olive oil does have a nice taste to it. If you prefer any kind of other oil, by all means, go for it. Olive oil does also have a few more health benefits than some of the heavier oils in terms of how they coat your insides. So now we're going to, once this is hot, we'll let it heat up a little bit longer. We're going to add some of the leeks. So we're going to add 2 of the leeks. Quick note on knife anatomy. I'm sure everyone came here thinking, I want to know about knife anatomy. So knives that are good for chopping are ones that have, so this is the point of the knife, this is the heel. When you have space on the handle for your hand to sit there, that's a note that this is a good knife for chopping, as opposed to some that they're just good for slicing bread, and you might be able to kind of feel what that looks like. So let me go ahead and chop this up. I'm not able to really have as good of a hold on these as I would if I were barehanded. But when it comes to chopping, if you want to make sure that you don't have a lot of cuts on your fingers at the end of chopping, one tip you can do is just roll your fingers inward. I stole this from the cooking show, so I sound smart. But roll your fingertips inward so that it's your knuckles that are keeping flat against the knife, and you won't cut your fingertips as much. But I'm just going to give these leeks a rough chop because they're going to be blended together, and so it's not that big of a deal if... Ooh, I made a mess. It's not that big of a deal if... That one wanted to go away. If they're not super small, and that's fine. Let me put this stray one back over there. You can tell that I'm used to having a dog at home because I'm just that messy in the kitchen. Does anyone else have a dog at home? No? A few? Okay, so a few of our guests here today are like, yes, I have a automatic vacuum cleaner just like you, except this one I have to take outside to use the bathroom rather than plug it into a wall. Okay, and I hear it sizzling a little bit, and then let me attempt to add the rest of these without it falling outside of the pot. Ooh. Okay, yes, we worked with Serena. Perfect. Now, while your leeks are cooking, let's see. So oil does go a little bit longer of a ways away than you think it might. So you don't need to put a ton of oil. You're not frying it. So even if it looks like it's not a lot of oil, you can just make sure to stir it evenly. Try to coat it as much as you can. And these are high walls. I'm making high walls over here, so you're not able to see the pot as much. But while that is cooking a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and chop up my garlic. The recipe says that you can add 4 cloves of garlic, but I like garlic a lot, so I tend to add like half the amount more. So let's see here. We need 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do 5 and 6 cloves of garlic instead. I personally can't tell the difference, but it's all right. Add however much you want. Now, with the garlic, I'm just roughly cutting it up because, like I said, we are going to be blending this together. So any mistakes you think you might made where you cut something you thought, oh, that has a face for radio now. I don't know what I did with that. That's okay because no one is going to know once everything is blended up. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'll actually keep these off to the side for a little bit. We're going to saute these a bit more. Now, in the notes, it says to saute it until brown. Let me see. Where is the setting? Is this on the highest setting? I think so. No worries. It says to saute it until brown, but to speed up the process just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and add the garlic in. A little note when it comes to garlic, it burns really easily. So you want to be careful if you're just adding garlic and onions in together and they don't have there's a lot of contact between the garlic and the hot pot itself. So while that is being added, I'm going to go ahead and add some of these seasonings, and I'll lay them out so that you can see them. Now, when I first made this recipe, I didn't have thyme or oregano. I thought I did. I could have sworn I did, but I had neither. So I used something else instead. In the first recipe, I used rosemary and, was it thyme? No, sage. I used rosemary and sage, and I didn't really notice too much of a difference with the flavor because I don't have that sophisticated of a palate. So to me, it makes no difference. But I'm going to attempt to be at least somewhat close to the original. And let me get my teaspoon. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of this, but this is a quarter, so we're going to do this 3 more times, 2 more times, and then, yes, we finally did that. Now, since I don't have my thyme, I'm not sure of a good alternative to thyme flavor-wise. If you like the taste of a specific flavor, then by all means go for it. I'm going to use sage because I appreciated the way it tasted. Parsley has a bit of a more neutral taste to it. I don't taste it too much unless I put an accidentally large amount in it. So let's put a teaspoon of our sage. Perfect. And then the red pepper flakes. Now, the red pepper flakes, they are a bit spicy coming from someone who doesn't really eat a lot of spice. If you're someone who eats a lot of spice, you're probably not going to notice a difference. But for the red pepper flakes, I'm going to add half of a teaspoon. If you want more, if you want it to be a party in your mouth, then by all means add more. But if you're like me, I would err on the side of caution and just not add too much spice. That way you save yourself some potential discomfort. So while this is cooking just a little bit more, what I'm going to do is, I'm realizing I have too much water over here, but that is okay. Let me move some stuff around. Really quick note, so I am going to be adding in, at some point I'm going to be adding in, this is Beyond Beef. Is it Beyond Beef or Beyond? Yes, Beyond Beef, which is an alternative for protein for those who are plant-based. Now, for mine, I'll put this at the front. For mine, I'm using this brand, but you don't have to. I know it probably looks like I'm endorsing things beyond my better judgment, but no, I'm not endorsing anything. I'm just telling you what I have. So this is one option. If you don't like Beyond, use whatever you want. If you want to use lentils instead, maybe you want to go a bit more whole foods rather than necessarily a smokier, stronger taste, then by all means, you can do as such. And I'll just put that right there as our little friend, a little reminder of what we have been doing. So now you're going to, once this has been cooking for a bit, once it's been sauteing for, I would say, 4 minutes longer than where it currently is, as you can see, they're still pretty green. So we want it to be a bit browner, or a bit more brown. But since we are giving you all a crash course on this, I'm going to go ahead and add my broth. Now, it's not broth at the moment. I typically haven't prepared it, and in the sense of I add my bouillon cubes to this before I add the rest into the main pot. But we're going to be blending everything up. So, like I said, your mistakes will be easily hidden. You're going to want to then add 4 cups of broth. And as a quick note on how much of the flavor itself to put, I have trust issues when it comes to flavor. So I tend to add more than the recipe encourages. And so let me get my bouillon. This is what I use. You can use whatever you prefer. I buy this at Whole Foods. Everything I bought was either at Aldi or Whole Foods. So, both ends of the price spectrum. But this one was it was $2.99 for 1 box, a little bit on the steep side, but I just like the flavor of this one. I found that, especially as someone who is vegan, a lot of bouillon, a lot of people seem to shy away from flavor for whatever reason. So we're just going to go ahead and add these in because the flavor of this is actually pretty good. It's pretty noticeable. And you might have noticed that some vegetable broths, they just taste like water with some tomato thrown in there, and that's not very appetizing, right? So with this particular recipe, the box says 1 cube for 2 cups. I put 4, so it would encourage you to just put 2 cubes. But like I said, I don't trust it, so I'm going to add in another. And, more flavor doesn't typically hurt anyone, right? And then I'm going to mix this up. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and soak the cubes in water so that when it's put in here, it does actually look like vegetable broth. But either way, you will be fine. The flavors will meld. Everything will be okay. And, even if you're the kind of person who just really wants to be that meticulous, you can just tell yourself, I'll be meticulous another day. That's completely fine. So now while this is together and you cook this for a little bit longer, just a bit longer, that's when we're going to add in our soaked cashews, which I will put in first. All of our wonderful cashews. Awesome. And now I'm going to approach our friendly but not always seeming friendly cauliflower. I found out the hard way my dog likes cauliflower because when I cracked it open, it just flew everywhere. I don't know how that happened per se, but we're going to go ahead and cut this up. Now, I'm not sure if there is I'm sure actually, I just don't know it. There's probably a nicer, more efficient way to cut cauliflower, but I don't know it, so I'm not going to attempt to make something, cut something up a fancier way, because then normally that's how I'm break more things. So it says here 20 ounces of cauliflower. I'm going to roughly chop it up. Now, 20 ounces, this came out to be almost like 3/4 of this cauliflower head. But if you want to go ahead and add in an entire head, go for it. I did that for the first time. Like I said, cauliflower has a pretty neutral taste. So I am throwing cauliflower everywhere. But it's all right. Now, if you want to add in the whole thing, it should be fine. Just know that you'll have to also add in more water. That way you have more broth itself, which I'm going to have to do because I'm just going to go ahead and use the entire head of cauliflower. I have to wonder, how did whoever made cauliflower decide to name it, like when they looked at it? This looks like a flower, but a cauli kind of flower. I don't know what that means. So once the cashews are in, once the cauliflower is in, that's when you're going to go ahead and add more water. You'll want to add it until it's covered completely. It's right here. My water is right here. So let's see if this will be enough. It might not be. Okay, so this is probably just a little bit not enough. You'll know if you've covered everything because when everything is covered with water, but also too, the cauliflower will be more likely to float rather than sit there because nothing is keeping it suspended. So I would add another cup or two to what I currently have in there. And so at this point, while this is simmering, you're going to chop the kale up into thin strips. This one kind of already came a little bit chopped, but I will say you're not going to be adding this in where there's a lot of heat in the soup. I don't know why I touched a hot pot, but everything is fine. So it's going to need to be smaller since it's not going to wilt as much as you probably anticipate. So let's see, a teaspoon and a half of salt. Yeah, that's fine. I have a voice in my head sometimes, that probably sounded weird, that tells me, that looks like a teaspoon, even though I have no idea. I'm gonna add some pepper in as well. And so technically, these are all of the seasonings that you will want to add. Now, pretend with me that we're traveling through time. We're gonna speed this up. That everything's been boiling. Most of the cooking of this recipe is a waiting game where you're gonna be boiling it. This has been boiling. It should be soft enough that even with a blunt, not weapon, what is this? Utensil. Even with a blunt utensil like this one, you can still cut the cauliflower itself. It'll smush, it'll fall apart. And then that's when you know it's time to go on to the next step. So you're going to then blend it. You can use a blender, like, the typical standing blender. I have come to find that I'm very bad at pouring things. So to save me a mess, I bought a handheld blender, also called an immersion blender, because when you put it in, it's gonna just kind of be in there. It's going to immerse itself. And it does work. It works just as well as a blender. It takes a little bit longer because you have to move things around and actually blend things up. But it does work very well. So if you don't have one of these, but you're messy like me, then I encourage you to consider getting one. I bought this years ago, so I'm afraid I don't remember the price. It was probably about $40, $50. But nonetheless, once you've blended it up, nice and hot, that's when you're going to put the kale in, and then that's when you're going to put whatever protein you want, whether it's lentils, Impossible, Beyond, whichever. You're going to then mix it up because you don't want this blended. You just want this blended because this will be the creamy base, and then this will add the nice texture and the flavor. And then once that's put in there, it's ready. You can probably let it sit for a few minutes to let the kale soften a bit, but at that point, you're good to go. And so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pack things up. But as I do, because I made an impressive mess. You can't see it, which is a good thing. But it's going to take me a second to pack everything up. In the meantime, are there any questions about this recipe? Yes? The bouillon cubes, I got these at Whole Foods. They're in the soup section. Most bouillon cubes are going to be in the soup section. This is the Edward & Sons Not Chicken brand, but there are other brands that if you don't like this one, you could probably find a good alternative. It did have a good flavor. I found that the cubes themselves typically have better flavor than the ones that come in like a bottle, pre-made, or a carton. Those ones taste just a little too watery to me. Any other questions while I figure out how to turn this into a real-life Tetris game? No? All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Good morning. I'm so glad to be here. I'm nervous. This is my first time. I'm sorry for my English. I am from Chile, South America. I want to try, but she helped me. Okay, I want to make rice and beans. Do you like beans? My boys, one love it, and the other, not too much. Okay, we want to start with the beans. Okay, I like to use this bean, la preferida, pinto beans. Okay. Voy a comenzar. Huh? Okay. Okay. The first I put in medium heat the pot, and I put olive oil. Okay. Voy a. Sorry, I confused. Me confundí de esto. We were not. This is the for beans. Okay. You can use the oil wherever you like. Okay. Cut the. I like use. Me gusta usar.
I like to use
Red onion.
red onion. Mhm.
But some people le gusta yellow.
Some
no?
people prefer the yellow onion over the red. It's whatever you prefer.
Okay, this is ready. Ya corté.
I already went ahead and cut it.
When is caliente?
When the pot is hot and the oil is hot,
And put here.
I will add to the pot.
Okay. Lo frío un poco.
I will let it fry just for a little bit.
Okay. And I use oregano. I put poquito.
I will add a little bit of oregano. Just shake it over the pot.
Wherever you want, no? I use comino, and also and a half spoon cumin.
Half a teaspoon of cumin.
Ajá. Y si te gusta, puedes usar ajo,
If you like, you could use pepper.
garlic,
Oh, garlic.
garlic, regular, the real,
As opposed to
or powder. And a half spoon too. Okay. And I use black pepper. Okay. And revuelvo.
I just mix it up for a little bit.
Cuando la cebolla esté transparente,
When the onion is transparent,
I put the tomato sauce. Okay. But only uso la mitad.
only about half of the tomato sauce will be added to the pot.
Ajá. Okay. You can put salt. I don't know what do you like, but I put 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon. When this is ready, I put the beans, pinto beans. Y cuando hierve,
When it is boiling or frying together,
lo pongo al mínimo,
I put the heat down at minimum or low,
and the beans is ready.
and then it is ready.
For the rice, I think it's too hot. I use medium hot for make the rice. Do you know what is this? Vermicelli? I don't know how it's in my country, they say cabello de ángel.
It's like
Angel
angel hair,
hair?
but in little bits, as opposed to the long
Yeah.
strands.
You can
A
see
very
it.
thin type of pasta.
Yeah, you can, sorry. You can use, oops. I use un cuarto de cup.
A fourth,
Un cuarto sería, sí, a four, yeah.
a quarter.
A quarter, yeah. And a fry. And I fry this. When it's a little golden brown, sería,
Oh, so this is the demonstration how it should
Ajá.
look like. It should be a
cuando
slightly
está de este
golden,
color,
a slightly golden brown color,
You
and
can
that's when
see.
you know it is done.
it's ready, okay?
Yes.
And I put the rice,
Then you
2
add the
cups of rice, okay? Y lo remuevo, sería, I mix.
Then she mixes it.
I mix all together and put the water. I use, for 2 cups of rice, I use 3.5 cups of water. No 1 cup of the rice and 2 cups of water because the rice is more sticky, not too grain. 1 cup. 2 cups. 3 cups and a half. And in the recipe, we have a problem in this part. If you see, say, 2 tablespoons.
It will actually be 2 teaspoons as opposed to 2
Teaspoon.
tablespoons.
Yes, please, 2 teaspoons. And I use 2 teaspoons of salt. And we mix again. And when it's caliente, cuando hierve y vemos unos poquitos de arroz, it's ready for put in the al mínimo.
So after it has been sitting on the fire for a little bit, just probe the rice and see if the texture is complete, and then you can go ahead and add it to the beans.
And this is it.
This is it.
Thank you.
All right, well, any questions? Yes.
I wasn't clear, that big container, is that onion powder? That big container right there?
This is salt. I use pink salt. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Pink.
Does she add garlic powder to this recipe?
She
Yeah.
did, yes.
And also onion powder or no?
No, it's the. I use the onion regular. But you can use
You can
what
use
you
it.
have in home. Yeah.
Yes.
How long do you cook beans
Oh,
now?
the beans when cuando hierven.
When it boils.
When it boil, is maybe 10 minutes?
About 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. And the rice, when I'm finished everything, you need to count 20 minutes, and the rice is ready. I use this rice.
There was a combination of rice and the angel hair that she had spoken of. It's similar to angel hair, but segmented off, and then she had fried that and then added the rice to it.
Okay.
Can you use dry beans?
Yeah, you can use rice beans. You los dejas toda la noche.
If
Overnight?
you use, yes, let them soak overnight if you want to use the dry beans, so it is fit for cooking. But you can use dry beans as
And
well.
after the rice boils, do you turn it down or do you leave it
Not down.
down
Yes,
to low?
minimum.
Low.
Mhm.
Yes.
Question, did you add to the rice angel hairs too? So
Both together. But first, I'm fry the vermicelli. Angel hair and fry a little bit when it's this color, a little brown, gold brown, and add the rice and mix. And next I put the water.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you.
job. All right. Well, we have neared the end of the cooking class, and thank you once again to everyone coming out and joining us. And as they are gathering up, it is my pleasure to introduce Alina Bokic. She will be demonstrating the Green Goddess salad, which you see as your last recipe on the pamphlets. So we will just wait for her to come forward. I found it.
Hello. I'm going to be making the Green Goddess salad that kind of went viral on social media. It's the vegan take of the traditional Green Goddess salad that mostly has a lot of sour cream and rich flavors, but we're substituting that with cashews and olive oil to make ours creamy. Basically, the base of this salad is just cabbage, cucumber, and green onions. And the kind of what's fun about this salad is the way that it's chopped, just very, very finely. And most of the flavor does come from the dressing, which I already pre-made, but for the sake of demonstration, we'll use the leftovers to show you how it's done. Okay. Actually, I did practice how to cut a cabbage last night just because I realized I didn't do it very well the first time. I cut mine in half, so I'm just doing half of the portion this time because it kind of takes forever to cut. But I just kind of take the core out and we'll cut it in half. And I shred it first in like little shreds. I'm gonna move this out of the way. So you want to have like little like thin pieces, and then I just like turn that over and then cut it super teeny tiny this way. Also, feel free to improvise on this recipe. Like, you can use basically any greens in this salad. It doesn't just have to be cabbage and cucumber and onion. You could put peppers or whatever you have in your fridge. This is just what the original recipe called for. I'm just gonna do half of this one, I think, just to show, and I'll finish it off later. You know, my favorite cooking videos are the ones that people don't talk and you just hear the sounds of the chopping. Because I just like hearing the sounds. I'm not really. If only there was a microphone to the chopping, that would be satisfying. Not my breathing. I'm just gonna move on to the cucumbers now. I'm gonna show you how I cut it. Just a little bit off the ends and basically just horizontally. Just cut like little lines into them. Lengthwise. And then again, super finely chopped cucumbers. I'm gonna just do one more. And I'll cut the third later. Oh, thanks. Oh, that was a good one. And then, last ingredient is the green onions. And I'm gonna just cut the white parts off because, so when I did do this dressing, I added a shallot, but for demonstration, I don't have that other shallot, so I'm gonna use the white part of this onion. What I like about this salad is that it actually stays fresh in the fridge up to a week when you make it, because a lot of the ingredient is lemon and that keeps it very preserved. I really love avocado in it, so I added avocado. I didn't have it in this recipe, but I added avocado because it's more creamy. But if you do add avocado, you should probably have it that day because it'll get brown and not, it won't preserve it well. But if you want it to last in the fridge, then probably don't add avocado in your dressing. And then, okay, for the dressing, I had it's however much you want. I added one, so that should be fine. It kind of, at the end, gives it a guac feel when you like dip a chip or something in it. So I liked that, just with like extra texture. The dressing consists of a cup of basil leaves. I personally, I do like basil, but I think it's a little bit strong the first time I made it. So I'm probably not going to add a whole cup for myself, but if you do like basil, then you can add the whole cup. And then a cup of spinach. I used kale the last time because I didn't have spinach, so you can kind of substitute here and there, whatever you have in your fridge, what's available. Parsley is also, and cilantro is good in here, even though they didn't add it in the original recipe, but I liked to add cilantro in it. And then we had kind of a handful of chives to add, and 2 garlic cloves. What was it? A 1/4 cup of nuts in your choice. I used cashews, they're the creamiest in this recipe, and a juice of 2 lemons. I wouldn't really suggest adding 2 lemons, it's way too sour. I added 1, maybe 1.5 is good too, for the ratio of how big your salad is. And what else? We have olive oil. A 1/4 cup of olive oil. And 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. It could be regular general vinegar. Okay. I'm going to add cilantro, even though it doesn't say it on there. It gives it more of that guac taste. And also, if you've heard of nutritional yeast, it's yeast but nutritional. It gives it a cheesy flavor. It's really good. It has a lot of minerals in it too, and protein. And you want to add, I lost my place of where I am. A 1/3 cup of nutritional yeast. And then I just kind of add 2 of those kind of pinches of salt. I kind of just go as I blend it up, I see if it needs more salt or not. I had a water bottle here. Can I use this water? Is that water bad? Can I use it? Okay. I'm gonna just use a little bit of water, even though it depends on the blender. I find that the NutriBullet gets stuck. So I just add a little bit to help it blend. This one's a little bit lighter in color because I added avocado, and it's almost like creamier too. But also it's because I added twice the amount I added here. I just didn't have enough to add. Now I have to open it, okay. So that's that. That's how that's gonna look like. But I'm going to add this one that I already made in the salad and mix it up. And it's really light on its own as a salad, like to eat on its own. So I think it tastes best with a tortilla chip or pita or a sandwich, or it's really good in tacos. So it's kind of more of that, like a little coleslaw guac side dish salad that kind of just goes well with anything. And yeah, that's how it looks like. But I'm gonna put more of the cabbage and cucumber in there, so I'll finish it up for you to try later. Thank you.
For Alina? Well, it looks absolutely delicious. So that was the last recipe of today's health seminar. Once more, a warm thank you for coming out and joining us today. We are very, very happy that you were able to do so. We invite you to stay after we close the seminar, and please try every single recipe that has been prepared. We will have samples ready to go. And please feel free to bring forth your questions if you are thinking of any as of now for each of the presenters. They will be mingling and happy to answer. And now I would like to invite Pastor Porowski for a final word and a closing prayer.
Thank you. Thank you, Adele. Thank you for, I was just telling her, do you want me to speak Croatian language? And she would translate. She was just translating any language. Thank you, Adele, for leading this, and thank you all for coming. They'll already told you that, and to all presenters. And we are going to inform you. I hope, are you all on our list, mailing list and information that you're receiving? If all of you, or if somebody is not, I'm going to have cards later on so you can fill up, and so that you know in the future. All right, let us pray and finish with a prayer and for the blessings of the food. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you that you wonderfully created us. And as a creator, you know what is the best for our body. And I pray, Lord, and I'm thankful that you're leading us and telling us, even there are so many things that we are bombarded with, that we can choose the best food, healthy food, so that we can have the healthy bodies. Then the mind is going to be also healthy. I pray, Lord, that the old habits that we have, that somehow praying and also changing them, that we can give you glory in everything that we do. The food that we are going to partake, bless this food, and also bless us, that we can also share with others, specifically people in need. As we are going to later on leave this place, there is no security, absolutely, in this world. The only security is with you, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. In your name we pray. Amen. Tables there, and we are going to add a little more, maybe one more table or something.
You don't like beans? Why not? You like beans?